To celebrate the Allies' victory over Nazi Germany 80 years ago in 1945, May 1945, VE Day, Hornby has released commemorative models to celebrate the day. And I've had 3, 2 LNER Pacifics and 1 LMS Pacific. In the condition they would have been on VE Day in 1945, that is to say, plain black. We start with Class A10, the famous Flying Scotsman. Now I'm not quite sure whether A10 is the correct description, because in 1945 Edward Thompson rebuilt Great Northern from an A1 into his A1. Now, such was his character, it would seem, that any locomotive that he designed always took the lowest designation. So, whereas this was originally an A1, a Gresley A1, when Thompson introduced his rebuild, that became A1, and the original A1s, Gresley's A1s, became A10. So this is probably on the cusp, either an A1 or an A10, but I'll refer to it as an A10. And it's in that condition with an original boiler and right-hand drive. Later in life, Flying Scotsman became an A3 in BR days and had left-hand drive. But anyway, let's see how this splendid model performs. Now, it's not a new model inasmuch as Hornby has had an A1 and an A3 in its catalogue for quite some years now. However, this is the first time that Flying Scotsman has been offered in this guise. And here she is on a Down Express on the divisor. I don't have many LNER coaches, coaches in LNER teak, so this is a bit of a mixed match of some Hornby Gresleys, some kit builds, and some, kit bashed. Isn't that a lovely locomotive? A bit clean perhaps for 1945. Here she is in run-pass mode. As with the other 2 locomotives in this presentation, I haven't added the extra bits supplied by Hornby. That means to say the kind of things like steps, cylinder drain cocks, bits and pieces like that. I also haven't fitted lamps because these aren't actual by-them locomotives. By-them engines have to have lamps. But she runs beautifully through Pico track, as here. A very, very sound runner indeed. And she doesn't half go fast. Next in line is A4, Sir Ralph Wedgwood. Now this is the second Ralph Wedgwood, inasmuch as the prototype, the first one, was bombed to oblivion at York during the war. So the name was taken off. Well, the nameplates were smashed to bits, but the name went on to another A4, ex-Gadwell. And again, this is in 1945 condition, all black, single chimney, but the valances have been removed. One thing I found is that the plastic-bodied Hornby A4s don't have anything near the same tractive effort as their equivalent A1 and A3. Why not? Because the A1s and A3s have a cast metal footplate. But this one is all plastic. And she's having a bit of a struggle, as you can see. Well, what I had to do is lose about 10 vans out of this train, a train that will have been seen running on Little By-them many times. So I took about 10 off, opened the taps, regulator in the roof, and eventually off she goes. Granted, this is probably a longer train than many people have on their model railways, and several of these wagons are built from heavy kits. once she's got the train on the road going, no problems whatsoever. Very, very smooth riding. Again, I haven't added the extra bits. And yes, she's not displaying lamps. Now, it's a long train, granted, but, well, if you add 10 more, all of Bytham's engines, the big ones, will pull it with ease. But to be fair, nowhere in Hornby's literature do they claim to be able to pull such heavy trains. It is, however, a very, very smooth, beautifully silky smooth runner. And, in usual Bytham methodology, here we have a run past. As with the A1, or A10 should I say, this is much too clean. By the end of the war, they'd be absolutely filthy dirty. But they make lovely commemorative models. And she goes quickly too. The northeastern van, by the way, is a coupler converter, because I don't use the dreaded tension locks. The final one in our presentation, on the left this is the Princess Coronation Streamliner. It makes an interesting comparison, doesn't it? Two Streamline Pacifics. And here we have City of Liverpool, the LMS representative. I don't think these look good in black. In fact, I'll probably cause outrage by saying they look much better in their de-streamlined form as a Duchess, or we used to call them semis. Willie Eden considered this class adipose. I had to look that up in the dictionary. It means fat. However, this is a very fine model of a fat Pacific. I have even fewer LMS carriages, or carriages in LMS condition, so this is the best I could muster, but I assure you this engine would take far more than the A4. And to be fair, it does look very impressive indeed. And away she goes. I don't think an LMS streamliner ever ran on the East Coast Main Line. One did join the 48 exchanges, but that was de-streamlined. And then we had City of London in 1963. But like the others, this is a superlative model. And, like the others, she goes very fast. I think the tender raves are just about right for early 1945. They were later removed.